Hello everyone and welcome to episode number 182 of Husavik Heroes here on Shaun Does FM. I hope you are doing well, and coming up in today's episode is the last two games of the Champions League group stage for 2036. First up, we take on Sparta Prague at home, just needing 1 point from our last two games to secure top spot in the group. If we don't get the job done in that game, we'll come back and also show you the full game as we travel away to take on Dinamo Zagreb. As well as that, we will have the draw for the first knockout round, and we'll also check in on HK in the Europa League and KR in the Conference League. HK especially still in the hunt to be making their way into the knockouts of European football as well. So if you are looking forward to today's episode, then do remember to go down below, leave a thumbs up on the video, and if you haven't done so already and are enjoying this series here on the channel, also remember to hit that subscribe button and turn that notification bell on as well. It is greatly appreciated. But we haven't gone forward too far off the back of where we did leave things yesterday after the end of season review, as well as that second win in this group stage against Manchester City. If you missed that episode, I'll leave a link to it in the top right corner. But this is what the group does look like. As mentioned before, we just need 1 point out of these last two games to secure top spot in the group, and we should really do that in the first game of today's episode against Sparta Prague, after we did beat them 3-1 in the first match week of this season's Champions League. And off the back of that, we take on Dinamo Zagreb. But if we do get that point that we need, there's probably not going to be much riding on that game, and we might just show you guys the highlights of it. The more important game will probably be that other one in the group between Sparta Prague and Manchester City. But this is a team we definitely should be beating. As I mentioned before, we picked up a slightly scratchy 3-1 win against these guys to start off the group campaign away from home, and this time we take them on at home off the back of back-to-back wins over Manchester City. So we certainly come into this one with a lot of confidence and no injury concerns either. So we'll come back shortly and get straight into the team sheets from my arena in the Hail as we take on Sparta Prague and try and secure top spot for that first knockout round draw. And here are the team sheets for this first game of today's episode. We are at home and going with our usual first choice 11. No games so far in this technically new season, but of course so far we have won all of our games in the group stage. There is Sparta Prague, 5 at the back, 3 in midfield and 2 up front. Hopefully we can at least pick up that point we need and secure top spot for that knockout draw. And just shy of the 10-minute mark, it is the first highlight of this game, and it is Sparta Prague here on the attack with a throw-in. They are in the mostly red there with the dark socks. We are in the green, but a good slide tackle there from Bienvenu Bayer will get us here on the counter-attack. Through Adam Saki just makes his way into the final third. Plays that one for Mizkic, but blazes that high and wide, and it's still 0 all after 10 minutes. And about 5 minutes off the back of that first highlight, we are about to have a free kick here, and I think this is going to be Lasana Doumbia trying to put this into the top left corner like he did in the first game we played against these guys, albeit that shot actually a little bit disappointing there from the free kick, pretty much straight down the middle, and Vuntic is able to pump this clear, albeit Ali Ramadan is there to tidy things up, and now we look to play out from the back, and Mizkic plays the ball over the top here for Adam Saki, but he misses a target, so a few good chances here early, but it remains 0 all. And again, going forward 5 minutes, just shy of the 20-minute mark, we do have our next highlight. Hopefully we can get on the score sheet soon, as Man City have opened the scoring there against Dinamo Zagreb. Mizkic trying to cut inside and curl that top right corner, as we know he can, but that one also goes high and wide, and it's still 0 all halfway through the first half. And we go forward now to the 37-minute mark for our next highlight. Lasana Doumbia again here with a free kick. This time he forces a good save out of Vuntic, trying to put that into the top right corner, well on top of Sparta Prague here, but so far yet to put the ball in the back of the net, and Filippo Donelli there goes close from corner, just over the bar, still 0 all with 5 minutes left of the first half. And late in this first half, we do have a throw, might be the last chance here for us to get on top before we do go into the sheds, and we are deep here inside the final third. Agatigere will play that one for Doumbia. Some good short passing here inside the box. Agatigere does get a shot off, but it's from a pretty poor angle, albeit does look like this highlight is going to continue. Vuntic pumps this deep, but Denali will head that one back for Calvillo and drop this at his feet and play it out to Denali as we look to play out from the back and hopefully grab a goal before halftime, because we definitely deserve it based on the stats and the highlights that we have seen. Just not quite threatening enough with our shots so far, but Saki plays that back to Krollo, and now Agatigere just holds things up here down the right-hand side, so good short passing. Agatigere just inside the byline will put this far post, And Benvenu Bayer is quite good at scoring goals when the rest of our team does seem to be struggling, and just gets that one inside the far post from quite a close range as well. So that was nearly one big miss there from the French midfielder, but thankfully right before halftime, we do take a 1-0 lead. Agatigre just inside the byline, and Bayer there just sneaks that inside that far post, and we finally get on the score sheet here just before halftime. We should go into the sheds with a 1-0 lead as Man City make it 4-0 there against Dinamo Zagreb. So they certainly look in a strong position to be finishing second in this group, but pretty happy with their first half. Could potentially have gone a little bit better, especially in front of goal, at playing well, and hopefully we can pile on a few more goals here in the second half. We are going to make one change at halftime though. Basaroge has picked up a yellow card. We'll just play things safe here and bring on Elaine Basicki for him, and hopefully, as I said, grab a few more goals here in the second half as we take a 1-0 lead into the start of it. And only a couple of minutes into the second half, we have an early throw in here, quite a similar position to where that highlight did start for that first goal there in the first half, right before halftime. Hopefully, we can strike nice and close to either side of halftime, and Berger puts a ball here over the top for Lassana Doumbia, but that is a good save from Vuntic to keep it at 1-0. And we go forward now to the 63-minute mark for our next highlight. So taking a while here to get on top. Lassana Doumbia again with a free kick, but that's a pretty safe save there for Vuntic. Again, not quite finding its way into one of the corners like he did with that goal he scored in the first game away against these guys. But this highlight is going to continue, so there might be one more chance coming, but hopefully we can grab a cushion goal, put this game to bed, and make sure that we are going to qualify in style on top of this group with one game to play as we look to advance here from the halfway line. Just knocking it about here, and we'll play that one back to Calvola. Now Filippo Donelli just holds things up there for Lassana Doumbia. Radenko Krolo now just holding things up, taking our time, but that's a nice ball there from Agatigre for Adam Saki, but that's a really good save there from Vuntic. Yet again, albeit off the rebound, he squares it, and yet again it is Benvenu Bayer who will get on the score sheet, tucks that away in the bottom left corner, and there is that cushion goal that we were after with 25 minutes left. Big chance here for Saki. Good save though from Vuntic, but couldn't quite get back for this ball that was played there for Bayer. Good finish just beyond the outstretched arm, and that makes it 2-0 Völsungur. And only a few minutes off the back of that second goal, we're going to make a second substitution. Lassana Doumbia playing well, but down to a red heart. Bruno Costa to come on for him with about 20 minutes left. And we go forward now to the 73-minute mark, and we are on the attack yet again. A throw in here inside the final third. Bruno Costa was in a bit of space there on the edge of the box, did not take the shot, but now Radenko Krolo puts that ball into the mixer. It's headed away, but only as far as Filippo Donelli, but then Mizkic gets pushed in the back, and this should give us a chance to convert from the penalty spot, and it should also be through Benvenu Bayer as he is on a hat-trick. So he's going to step up here and try and put this away, and puts it in the bottom right corner. The goalkeeper doesn't move, and Benvenu Bayer will start off the technically new season here in Iceland with a hat-trick in the Champions League, and we'll probably take him off the back of this because he was one of the players who was at the most injury risk going into this game, and now that he has got his hat-trick, I think we will take him off and he can get a nice round of applause here at my stadium. It will be Mizkic going to the Mazzala, Alagard to switch out to left wing, and we make it 3-0 with 15 minutes left. And entering the last few minutes of this game is Manchester City are absolutely thumping Dinamo Zagreb. So Sparta Prague are going to need something big to get above Man City in this upcoming match week, but that will secure ourselves top spot for that first knockout round draw. A 3-0 win there against Sparta Prague. Certainly played a bit better in that second half than we did in the first half, but again, a pretty solid overall performance. Yet again, we score 3 goals in a Champions League game, and if we can continue to do that, it's going to be pretty hard to beat us. It is fair to say, but a good solid win, and that will wrap up top spot in the group for us before we do play Dinamo Zagreb on the last match day, and I don't think there's going to be anything riding on that game either. So what we are going to do is come back shortly, check in on HK and KR down in the Europa League and the Conference League, and just show you guys what our team will look like for that Dinamo Zagreb game before we show you guys the highlights before we get into that first knockout round draw. And we are back just prior to taking on Dinamo Zagreb in the last game of our Champions League group stage. Before we show you guys the team we're going to put out for that rather meaningless game, we're going to check in on what's happening in the lower UEFA competitions, and HK are going to be in the knockouts yet again, albeit they might actually be able to reach the knockouts of the Europa League and not the Conference League, because their last game is at home against Maccabi Haifa. Just a draw will be enough for them to go through to the knockouts of the Europa League off the back of beating Astana 2-1 in Kazakhstan. They got a late penalty there off the back of conceding an equaliser, and that means at the very least they're going to finish third in their groups. HK doing a very, very good job. We can check in on those guys later and see who they do get in whatever knockout competition they do end up in. But down in the Conference League, Nuts KR are officially cooked. They could only manage a draw there at home against their Georgian opposition, which is not a bad result considering how well both they and Kurga out of Denmark are doing in that group. But that unfortunately means they are not going to be able to make their way into that top two and reach the knockouts of the Conference League. They might be able to do something potentially away against Ballon, considering that they did beat those guys earlier in the group stages, but unfortunately Nuts KR have got no chance of reaching the knockouts of the Conference League. But good news there, as HK are guaranteed to be in the knockouts of either the Europa League or the Conference League. Hopefully they can make that the Europa League and get a little bit more money into the club, which might help them in future European campaigns. But a quick reminder of what our group does look like before we show you guys highlights from our last game. As mentioned before, nothing riding on this one. We are guaranteed top spot in Dinamo Zagreb. Can't get off the bottom, so there's not really much point showing you guys this full game. We should be picking up another 3 points here to go through with 6 wins from 6. The big game potentially is between Sparta Prague and Man City. If Sparta Prague win that one by a big enough margin, they could jump above Man City, albeit that is quite unlikely. Man City should really be getting the job done there, but there is still a chance that Sparta Prague could jump above them and knock out one of the competition favourites. But with our game, not much riding on it. We have made one change to our team going into this one. Bussaro Gay is on a yellow card, so we are definitely going to play things safe here. Already being qualified, that means that Elaine Basicki comes into the DM role, so not missing out on too much there. It is fair to say, and also Narek Voskanyan will make his way onto the bench, but those are our only changes, and we'll come back shortly and show you guys the highlights of our last game of the Champions League group stages. Hopefully can make it 6 from 6, taking on Dinamo Zagreb. And here are the highlights from our trip to Zagreb to wrap up this Champions League group stage. We were in the white. Adam Saki rather harshly had a goal ruled out after 7 minutes, but made up for about 20 minutes later. Nice finish there into the top right corner. 2+, 1-0 up. That was the halftime score. Actually took us a while to get a cushion goal in this game, but Bruno Costa off the bench. Nice ball there, far post for Ognjar Mizkic. That made it 2-0. They did actually grab a goal back though, Dinamo Zagreb, inside injury time. Good short passing here inside the box. Little bit of a fortunate deflection there for Grijovic, but he puts that away, and that's actually the closest game we've had so far in the group stages of the Champions League this year, but we do still pick up the 3 points. 2-1, potentially just a little bit disjointed there without Bussaro Gay, which is interesting. Probably our worst performance there of the group stages, but we still pick up 3 points and go through with a perfect record of 18 points from our 6 games and qualify in top spot in style. And in the other game in our group, Man City were also tested a little bit, but they go through in second spot, as you would expect, off the back of a 2-0 win there away against Sparta Prague. So from Group H, we go through top. Manchester City as a second seed, which I imagine not many teams are going to want as a second seed if that is who they could be up against. And Sparta Prague are going to be dropping down into the Europa League. Before we wrap up the rest of the results from the Champions League groups, we'll go down and check in on how HK got on in the final match week, because that could actually have some relevance for them, which teams do finish third in Champions League groups. And that indeed will be the case, because HK have picked up a win on the final match day at home there against Maccabi Haifa. So that does mean they are going to be a second seed for the Europa League knockouts. The first time HK have made the knockouts of the Europa League, and they go through 4 points clear of Maccabi Haifa, as I said earlier. Just needing a draw out of that game, but they pick up a win, which is very useful potentially for the coefficient table. And as I said, for the first time, HK are going to be in the Europa League knockouts, so we do need to keep an eye out on who finishes third in Champions League groups as potential opponents for HK in that first knockout round. And down in the Conference League, things ending off well here as well. Nuts KR could not make their way out of the group, but they are going to finish in third as they again have defeated Valoringa, this time away from home. So quite a good win there. 2 early goals does mean that they pick up a 2-1 win to end their group stage. 7 points, not too bad of an effort for a team who are in the group stages of a European competition. for the first time. So I think we'll get a little bit of help on the coefficient table there from our fellow Icelandic clubs. Certainly a little bit more than we have got over the past couple of seasons, but we are going to now go up and have a look at who we could potentially get in this first knockout round, as well as see who has finished third in their groups for teams that HK might be playing in that first knockout round of the Europa League. So we'll make our way down here. PSG in first and Juventus in second. We could get those guys. Certainly a big team to be finishing second. And also Dortmund will be dropping down to the Europa League. Probably a team that HK would like to avoid. Down to Group B, Man United on top. Hertha Berlin just edging Valencia there for second. I don't think we'd mind taking on Hertha Berlin. Valencia, though, would be a bit of a tough matchup. For HK, Group C, AC Milan on top. Sporting of Portugal in second. Again, that's a team that we should be beating, albeit at this stage of the save, off the back of winning 2 straight Champions Leagues. I think we should potentially be beating most teams, but nonetheless, Ajax are the team dropping down into the Europa League. Group D, Real Madrid on top. Liverpool in second, one of the bigger names in terms of second seeds, who we could get, a team who did actually push us a bit closer than I let on in yesterday's episode. Of course, in the quarterfinals of the Champions League last season, it did take a Benvenu Bayer goal to make sure that game did not go to extra time. And Ajaccio is one of the teams which HK could get in the first knockout round of the Europa League. Group E, Chelsea, the competition favourites. They top that group. Porto in second, and RB Leipzig, who beat us in the Super Cup, are dropping down to the Europa League. That might be a tough matchup there for HK, but certainly we should be beating Porto if we get those guys. A little bit of an upset in Group F. Sevilla just do enough to finish above Bayern Munich in that group, so Bayern would be an interesting matchup there in the first knockout round, albeit we've played them a few times and have got the wood over them in recent history. Napoli dropping down into the Europa League just over Galatasaray. Group G, Barcelona on top, FC Cologne in second, and it is Inter Milan going to the Europa League. That would be a tough matchup there for HK. And of course, our group, we're on top, Man City in second, and Sparta Prague could be a potential opponent for HK. But it is time for the first knockout round draw. You've just seen where the teams are seated, so we'll get straight into things. And first up, one of the big dogs in the second pot in Juventus, ideally probably one of the teams that we would want to avoid, and they will take on Chelsea. Very, very tasty first knockout round clash there. The competition favourites taking on one of the Italian giants. Next out of the hat, another big dog from the second pot there in Bayern Munich, and they will get Paris Saint-Germain. So a few very big matchups there in the top half of the Champions League first knockout round draw. Next up is going to be Porto. This is where we get to teams we would actually quite like to be playing in this first knockout round, but they will take on Manchester United. So a nice easy draw there, I think it's fair to say, for the team which has made the last 2 finals and won the one before that against us. Of course, next up is Sporting, also out of Portugal. They will be taking on Real Madrid. So that looks like a tie which Real Madrid should really be winning. Next up, Hertha Berlin, and the team which will take those guys on is AC Milan. So that does just leave FC Cologne and Liverpool, who we can draw, because of course we can't draw Manchester City after coming out of the same group as them. And next up, indeed, it is Liverpool, and of course we get Liverpool. That's a little bit of a tough draw there for us, especially because they pushed us quite close in the quarterfinals last season, but that should at least mean that things do get interesting in that first knockout round. We just edged those guys in the quarterfinals last season, as I mentioned before. That could be quite a tough matchup off the back of only a few games in the Diyarbakir after returning from our end of season break. Manchester City, they are going to be taking on Barcelona, and that means that Sevilla are taking on Cologne, and probably the tie which looks the least interesting, truth be told, there in that first knockout round. But a pretty tough one there for us as we take on Liverpool. Not too sure if there was much difference there of what would have happened if we finished first or second in our group, as Man City are taking on Barcelona. But we'll go for just a little bit now and check in on who HK get in the first knockout round draw of the Europa League. And we have gone forward a few more days to see what has happened in the first knockout round draw for the Europa League. It's not terrible for HK. Actually, probably one of the kinder draws they could have gotten with those teams that did finish third in their Champions League groups. They will be taking on Ajax. That's a team that we've done quite well against in the past. So hopefully HK might be able to pull off an upset there, but at the very least, they get some experience in the knockouts of the Europa League. And while we are here, we'll also check in on the coefficient table off the back of that good work by both HK and Natsuke are alongside us there in the group stages, and we are already on a 7. So hopefully, as long as we can beat Liverpool and progress to where the board does expect us to in the knockouts of the Champions League this season, also hopefully with a little bit of unexpected help from HK in the knockouts of the Europa League as well, potentially, we should be able to overcome that 9.5 that we are getting rid of, albeit does look like a pretty safe bet that we are going to be sticking around in 7th for a few years anyway. Portugal are still currently about 8 points ahead of us there on the coefficient table in 6th position. And going forward even further, a nice way to end today's episode. We've gone forward to the end of December because there is the awards here for sort of the worldwide best players of the year. And for the first time in a save here on the channel, one of our players has picked up some of these awards, and we start off with the Ballon d'Or. I told you yesterday that Adam Saki got robbed of winning the club player of the year, and he gets rewarded somewhat for that fault in my mind. He has picked up the FIFA Ballon d'Or there, his 56 goals and 31 appearances, as well as 8 assists, meaning that he has been named the best player in the world, at least the Ballon d'Or winner for 2036. And in second is Lassana Doumbia, the club player of the year. So a little bit rough there that the Ballon d'Or winner was not named the club player of the year, but we have the top 2 players in Ballon d'Or voting there, and Youssoufa Moukoko did finish third. Going up a little bit further, Adam Saki has also won the FIFA Best Men's Player Award, this time Moukoko finishing second and Doumbia in third. We go up even further yet again. Adam Saki wins the FIFA FIFPro Player of the Year. So Adam Saki absolutely cleaning up here at the end of 2036. The rankings there exactly the same as they were for the Ballon d'Or. We go up a bit further. There's the under 21 best men's player, a player from Juventus. In Emerson, we go forward a bit further. There is the FIFA FIFPro Team of the Year. Both Doumbia and Saki do make their way into that team. So some good work there off the back of winning the Champions League in the past 2 seasons. Asian Footballer of the Year, we didn't have anyone up for, but we go up a little bit further. Young Suzuki out of RB Leipzig, their goalkeeper, picks up the Young Footballer of the Year. In Asia, the African Broadcasters Footballer of the Year also goes to Adam Saki, as you would expect, albeit he doesn't actually win the African Footballer of the Year. That does go to Alex Mariba over Adam Saki, which is a little bit confusing off the back of those previous awards, and a very good left winger there out of Hertha Berlin, and Fouad Al-Khili. He is the player who finishes third there in the African Footballer of the Year. In terms of the African 11, we have both Ali Ramadan and Adam Saki in that team. European Golden Boy goes to Gajdos from PSG, and then we go up to our last little bit of award news here to end 2036, and there are the award winners positionally. In Africa, Ali Ramadan is the Defender of the Year, and of course Adam Saki is the Striker of the Year. So Adam Saki cleaning up on some of those awards at the end of the year here in 2036, especially those 3 big ones, the FIFPro Player of the Year, as well as the FIFA Best Men's Player, as well as the Ballon d'Or. But I think that's a good way to end today's episode. We pretty much cruised our way through to top spot in that group off the back of beating Manchester City over the past few episodes, but a little bit of a tough draw for us there in the first knockout round to start off next week, as we do take on a Liverpool team who pushed us quite close in the knockouts last season. As well as that, HK are taking on Ajax in the knockouts of the Europa League as well. If you did enjoy today's episode, then do remember to go down below, leave a thumbs up on the video, and if you haven't done so already and are enjoying this series here on the channel, also remember to hit that subscribe button and turn that notification bell on as well. We'll come back at the start of next week and come back with, as we usually do, the first leg of that first knockout round against Liverpool. That one is away at Anfield. We might also have a few transfer updates, but I'm probably going to keep my powder dry until the end of this European season, because I don't know if there's many positions we can improve in this current squad here at Völsungur. Maybe we'll try and sign a few wonder kids, but that will be coming up also in the first few episodes to start off next week as well. And of course, we'll keep an eye out as well on how HK do get on there in the Europa League against Ajax. But until then, thank you very much for watching. Keep on keeping on, and I'll see you then. Cheers.